I'm somebody that I don't really buy into the rich need to pay their fair share. I mean, when you look at the statistics of where we actually get funding for the government.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was former Vice President Mike Pence in Iowa discussing his position on taxes. Several Democrats are now using those remarks to go on the offense in terms of making their own economic case to voters. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy wrote, quote, "This is the essential difference between Republicans and Democrats today. Republicans seek power to help their rich friends and corporations. Democrats seek power to help regular people." That's his quote. Jonathan Kott and Kevin Sheridan join us now. Jonathan is a Democratic strategist and formerly served as a top advisor to Senators Joe Manchin and Chris Coons. Kevin is a founding partner at Protean Public Affairs. He formerly served as a spokesperson for the RNC and was a senior advisor for the Romney-Ryan 2012 campaign. I covered a lot of that campaign. Mitt Romney's remarks back in that campaign on the economy got a lot of attention about who's paying their fair share or not. This had a bit of an echo of that moment. But does the economic issue matter in 2024, Kevin? And then we'll get Jonathan's take.
Yeah, that was a big deal in 2012. I don't think that we're in the same kind of environment where a policy discussion like that is actually going to have all that big of an impact, honestly. It's also a very crowded field right now, and I don't know that Pence is going to break out one way or the other. He's obviously spending all his time in Iowa. He's going to have to focus there and see if he can cut some sort of path, and as we were talking about earlier, but then where does he go? So we'll see. No, it's a much different environment than 2012. Though.
But Democrats, even though it's a different environment, Trump hovers over a lot of this. Democrats like President Biden, he's out there talking about the economy today. In recent days, are underscoring that word Bidenomics, not in the dictionary, but a word they're using. So Democrats seem to want to bring the economy to the fore.
Sure. We would love to have the debate over Bidenomics and Reaganomics. I wish somebody who wasn't polling at 1%, who most GOP voters tried to hang and kill on January 6th, had said this, because it might resonate more in the media and it would give Democrats a bigger chance to draw the stark contrast. But Mike Pence said what other people haven't. He was honest. That's how the Republican Party views the tax structure in this country. Bidenomics is about getting people jobs and helping them raise up in their lives. And I think the trickle-down theory just hasn't worked. And we'd be happy to have that debate, whether it's Joe Biden and Mike Pence, who I highly doubt is going to be the nominee, but most likely Joe Biden and Donald Trump, because I don't think Donald Trump's going to disagree with him.
Okay, so you highly doubt former VP Pence can break through.
Sure.
When you're talking to your fellow Democrats behind the scenes, having candid conversations, do you or any of them believe a Republican can break through against Trump at this point?
No. Donald Trump is so overwhelmingly ahead. And if you're going to break through, it's going to be hard to convince all these voters that have stuck with Trump over everything. Everything he's done, they've stuck with him. And not only do you have to convince them to go away from Trump, you have to convince them all to come to you. DeSantis would have to do that. And he seems like he's on the wrong path already.
Is there a belief that DeSantis can come back, Kevin?
Yeah. Look at 2008. John McCain was completely counted out, and he came back.
Okay, so how does Governor DeSantis come back in your view?
Well, in my view, I think he's got to win Iowa, and he's got to do well in New Hampshire. If he can put some points on the board very early in the debates or in the primaries, then the ball will get rolling. He's got to get on that debate stage with Donald Trump, though, and actually debate him. And if Trump doesn't show up, that makes it much more difficult. Now, he's got to somehow goad him into getting there. And, that's probably going to be picking a fight with him.
President Biden in South Carolina, does that have anything to do with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. starting to get a little traction with some Democrats?
No. I don't think the White House or the Biden campaign has any concerns about Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr. is backed by more Republicans than he is Democrats. This is a guy that Steve Bannon and Roger Stone are supportive of. I think he's a kook. He has no business being in this race. The Biden campaign should pay no attention to him. I think what they're doing is going out there and campaigning on his record. The best campaign the president can do is continue to be a successful president and just keep doing events like this where he's announcing 600 jobs based on legislation he helped get passed. That's all they're focused on.
RFK Jr. is at 20% in the polls. That's not nothing.
Well, it's depending on which poll you're asking. Yeah. I mean, he definitely has some growing support, but the question is, does he have a political coalition that's going to be a threat in a primary? I want to get your take, though, on foreign policy. We just heard from John Kirby, spokesman for the NSC. Inside the Republican Party, a lot of different views on Ukraine. Is foreign policy going to be something that's hashed out on the debate stage inside the party this year or not?
Yeah, and you saw Ron DeSantis stumble a little bit with it when he first came out. He's got to get that cleaned up. He's got to get more solid on that. He's obviously served overseas. He can do this. You know, Ronald Reagan was a governor who went on to become one of the most successful foreign policy leaders ever. So the governors always have that challenge. He's got to get briefed. He's got to be, on top of his book. He's got to know what he's talking about. They all do. They all need to do this because none of them have actually done foreign policy before.
And a big question, though, for Governor DeSantis is, where does he align? You said he stumbled a bit. He started talking about it maybe being a dispute with Russia and Ukraine and kind of its own.
He needs to stay true to himself and go back to what he
more like
was
the
in the
Bush
House.
International.
Yeah, I think he can take
foreign policy.
Yeah, he could take a nuanced approach to it, but he can't be somebody who he's not. He's got to stay true to himself, and that is a hawkish, muscular foreign policy.
Any thoughts on foreign policy? Will Biden use it to sell it?
Sure, he should use it. He has rallied, our allies and is helping Ukraine. Russia is in tatters. And I think there would be a great comparison in a general election. Look, Mike Pence is using Ukraine to try to break out. I don't know if it's going to work, but once that division gets settled, I think it's a worthwhile debate to have in the general election.
Jonathan Kott, Kevin Sheridan, thanks so much for stopping by. America Decides. We appreciate